Hey, everybody.
Hi, it's Jenny.
And Paul.
We're with the Go Box Art Crate monthly subscription box, and we're bringing you pink water lilies today.
Pink water lilies.
Right here?
Mm-hmm.
So it's inspired by Monet's water lily paintings, which he did over, I don't know, was it like 250?
Oh, no. It was in the late 1800s.
No, the amount of paintings he did was like over 200 paintings of water lilies.
He
so
did quite a
think
few.
he really liked that subject.
Well, I don't blame him. They are quiet, and they change every day.
Yep.
And they change throughout the day because they close up at night, and then they reopen it in the daytime. And
So I want to thank everyone who's donated to our Patreon and coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That's been great. It's kind of helped us along, and every little bit counts right now as our studio's closed, and we're
nobody wants
pushing
to
the
hear about
Go Box Art Crate.
that. We're talking about that.
So let's go ahead and get started. I think we can let's do our toast.
It's toast.
Let's toast to not having ice.
There we go.
Cheers.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as we get going. It's been a little bit of an interesting couple of days for us.
Yeah, we've had a major ice storm here in Oregon, and
Not as major as Texas.
no, not quite like that.
Well, maybe it is, but we're more used to it, maybe?
Yeah, but a tree fell on my parents' car and broke out the car window.
Yeah.
So that was our excitement of the week. So here's what we're painting. I would say it's a little more detailed than Monet's usually are.
Oh, definitely.
Like with these. These little white dots are completely optional. That is my little Jenny touch. I always add some kind of weird stuff like that to my painting.
I always want to know what exactly is that?
I always think of them as little bugs. Like, even though I know like lightning bugs are usually in fields, I'm like, in a painting, I can put them wherever I want. So
Yeah, because we've had a similar painting to this in the studio, and you added those to that too.
It's just it's OCD.
It's a Jennyism.
So here's our colors.
Talk about
we don't use black
color
this
scheme.
time, just like Monet. He never used black paint. I don't know. I wouldn't know if I'd say he never did, but I know he hardly ever did.
Yeah.
We've got white, sapphire, daffodil, ruby red, and the bonus color this month was metallic gold. You'll use that on this painting, and then let's show yours for next week. And I promise we'll get started in just 2 minutes.
I mean, it's not next week. It's this Friday.
Oh yeah, this Friday. So Paul's is Rocky Cove, which I love.
And she always, every time she says it like Sloth from Goonies. Rocky, go.
So yeah, we've got the lighthouse, this awesome kind of greenish sky back here. Looks like you intended this to look like there was just a raging storm that came through.
Well, if you remember when I first did it, it had almost no color.
I love that.
Just the stormy gray colors, and then we added the pink into the sky.
And it looks like you missed paint right here, but it looks like it's like a lightning bolt or something.
It's exactly what I was shooting for.
And then real quick, those of you subscribers, I'm going to show you what we're teaching next month. This is Paul's, what are we calling this one?
Irish Ruins.
Irish Ruins. So this is kind of thinking of St. Patty's Day in there without going too cheesy.
Yeah, doing especially like a holiday
Love those flowers.
St. Patrick's Day or Easter or anything. It's hard to get away with doing a painting that doesn't come across as cheesy.
Yeah. So we added these flowers last as a finishing touch, which I loved. And then for me, I kind of diverted from my usual style, sort of. This one is super fun. We start with a tinted canvas, and this one is called Blue Hydrangeas, I think. Yeah, and so I've always wanted to paint these. My mom grows tons of them in her garden, and they're so pretty, and I really like the way this one turned out. So that's what we get to do. So we're using 12 by 12 square canvas next month.
Yep, nice little change. I love the 12 by 12 square canvas, by the way.
Yeah, they give you a whole different inspiration level.
And if you just, somebody's got crumbly white paint.
Oh, no. Okay, why don't you explain that scenario? We did email everybody.
Yeah, it seems as though some of the white paint may have frozen in transit and created a little bit of a mess. We've had a couple of people reach out. There's really not much you can do.
You can try mixing a little hot water in it.
Yeah, you might try that, but
in a little dish or something.
Yeah, the real answer to that is
contact us so we can send you a replacement.
Contact us on the website, and we will send you a new bottle of white. Unfortunately, you'll have to wait until you get your new white to be able to do the painting. But you could try a little bit of hot water, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that working.
Yeah, you can try it though.
Yeah.
But we had one come back to us, a box that was misdelivered, and we opened it up, and the white was like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so we immediately sent out an email to all our subscribers, and obviously maybe went to spam. So check with that. Give us a little respond back to the newsletter email or send us a message on our website. We'll get some paint out to you immediately. But do try mixing a little water with it. See if you can get it going again.
Yeah.
The hot water, I think, might do the trick. Well,
it might, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, that was something I never would have ever considered happening. After doing this for over a year, I've never had that happen. But yeah, I think that's what happened. I even contacted the manufacturer, and they're like, "Oh no, it's not on our end." So I think it froze in shipment. That's the only thing I can think. So let's talk about these instructions. I'll kind of loosely follow along because in the teaching world, things go a little bit differently when you're live teaching. Brushes, you should have a set of 3 small, I don't know what that one's doing there, small, medium, and large. I decided to use the red set today because a lot of you have the red set. Sometimes I use the white set just to change it up. They all do the same thing. Let's pick up the biggest one to start. Go ahead and dip it in your water cup. Kind of swish it around on the bottom of the cup. Especially if you have brand new brushes. They come with a coating on them that keeps them nice and in shape, but can make them a little stiff. So I do make sure to kind of gently press the brush across the bottom of the cup.
So she had, just real quick, just in case anybody else is, Kelly had asked, she said she's got some white tempera paint.
Okay.
And you should be able to use it, give it a shot. If it doesn't work,
yeah, let us know how that goes.
Yeah, and we'll still send
keep in contact with us.
Yeah, we'll still send you some fresh white.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, we're getting all hijacked.
Okay, so we're gonna start by making
by our own problem.
Yeah, we're gonna start by making a really light peachy pink color.
Peachy pink.
Yep, we're gonna use a lot of white. So pull some white aside. Use the corner of your brush and pick up just the smallest little dot of red. You can see it on my brush, not much at all, because it goes a long way. So you should get a nice light pastel pink. I feel like I can make it a little bit more pink than this. Now this painting can go different directions, so if you make a darker or lighter pink, it's not going to affect the painting much. So I'm going to add some yellow.
You know, it's kind of interesting. We don't talk about tempera paint very much, but since it got brought up, I believe that the Sistine Chapel was painted with tempera paint.
A lot of old paintings were egg tempera is what they used.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like it still could use a little more red. I'm being picky tonight. Okay, so there I go. A little more yellow. Every time I add a color, I gotta add another. So there, I've got this sort of peachy pink. And we're gonna start by using the thin edge of this brush. Lock your wrist so you're not kind of going like this. You wanna actually go more like this. And let's just start up in here in the middle. And we're gonna go back and forth and across the canvas. Kind of through this central middle area for the most part.
I feel like that shadow is kind of annoying.
No.
No, when your hand's out there.
Okay, let's leave about maybe 2 inches at the top, so we can come up to about 2 inches here. Oh yeah, I see that. Maybe you could fix that.
I can work on that.
Yeah, we're gonna switch to a different white paint color. We use blockout white. I like blockout white because it's really super opaque, but that was primarily in the studio where we were having to work pretty fast and needed a really opaque white. So I'm going to switch to titanium white because none of the other colors froze, and blockout white has some different qualities to it. And it froze. So, and when we fill the bottles with it, it's like filling a paint bottle with buttercream frosting. It is so thick. So I'm sure the lesser amount of water in it is what caused it to freeze and the others not to. So let's bring this down here. About like that. The locking of the wrist is something that you will start getting familiar with. Anytime you're painting water or anything flat where you're having to do what we're doing now, you want to lock your wrist, because what will happen is if you don't and you're kind of swinging your wrist back and forth like this, you're going to get this sort of curved smile shape. And we don't want that for water. We want a nice flat water surface in most cases. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to take the corner of our brush without washing it, pick up a little bit of your sapphire blue and mix that in. What we're aiming for is sort of a soft lavender. So if you need to pull a little more red in there, you can. And if you're not getting a color you like this is good. This is a nice, probably on screen it might look a little gray. Maybe I'll rosy it up a bit.
A little puttyish.
Yeah, it's should be a pale lavender. So if you're not getting that, you probably have more yellow in your peachy mix. So just make a mix of white with a little bit of sapphire and a little bit of ruby, and just to make a true lavender without the yellow in there, because yellow can cause some problems if you have a lot of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do this right here. We're going to bring that around, same brush strokes, lock the wrist. We're going to bring that around the sides, and sometimes I'll travel inward a little more just to keep it random. So this is the beginning of, we're kind of blueprinting some shadows in here. This painting has quite a bit of layering in it.
Don't be afraid to ask questions via the chat.
Paul loves answering questions.
I do love answering questions.
Hopefully you guys haven't had too much extreme weather where you are. You know, it's kind of all over the place. My mom and I were talking, we're like, I think Mother Nature's really mad at us. She needs us to do something. Oh, there comes it. Just making sure. Okay. That's my daughter. We're having groceries delivered tonight.
And she's puppy sitting.
I haven't been able to, over the ice storm, luckily I shop at Costco a lot, so we were pretty well stocked, and we do a lot of cooking. In fact, we've considered doing cooking classes on our YouTube.
You know, it might happen.
Baking classes for me, pizza classes for Paul.
I don't know about the pizza classes, but...
Oh, you could do that.
Yeah, but you used to be a professional cake decorator, so...
Yeah, so I know a lot about baking, a bit about the science behind it. So yeah, we've always talked about adding that in. I kind of figure it fits in the arts somewhere. It's like the culinary arts.
It might be a nice little tasty treat for people to enjoy while they're painting.
Yeah, it'd be kind of fun to just be like, tonight's food is inspired by Van Gogh's Starry Night.
Let us know if you're interested.
Yeah, then we can write off our kitchen.
Shh.
Funny. Actually, a friend of ours who's a controller, she's a controller for hire, so she's self-employed and goes around to different businesses. She was telling us about a client that wrote off how much on a test kitchen?
$300,000,
$300,000 they were right off on a test kitchen.
In their home.
In their home. I think that sounds a little sketch, but okay.
No, it's not sketchy at all.
Well, I know it can be done. It just is like
they were a restaurant owner.
Maybe a big restaurant.
Well, it doesn't. Well, yeah, but they were a restaurant owner, and they needed to be able to come up with new recipes and stuff at home, and so they did it from home.
All right, got it. So if you remix color and it's not the exact same shade, like I'm getting a little bit more of a bluish color right now.
Oh, you know what I like to do when that happens?
That's totally fine. In fact, it will add some unexpected depth to your painting.
What I like to do when that happens, though, just in case, is to just add a little swoosh and a little swish elsewhere.
Okay.
So that it feels like it's balanced. So you could do it on, if you've got a little bit too much on that going on the right, you can do a little bit on the left to balance. And it's just a couple little brush strokes. Just to
you do want to balance it on both sides.
Just make sure it's not, just to make sure it's not just like floating on an island and And, oh, yeah, we got one person who's interested in some cooking.
All right, yeah. Yeah, I got to make some pretty cool stuff over the years when I worked at this bakery. It was during the cupcake craze, so like 2010.
You guys were almost on Cupcake Wars.
We were almost on Cupcake Wars. Those of you a lot of you probably have heard of Kyron Horman, the kid who went missing here in around 2010.
Gosh.
Still missing. I got to decorate a cake for his birthday that the parents put in a freezer for if he ever came home.
I wonder if they still have that then.
I hope so. I mean, it's really sad. But, yeah, we got to be on the news for different things. That was a fun job. Very, very fun job.
Except for when you're having to do sad cakes like that.
Yeah, I know. I should talk about something more upbeat. What
Come
did I do
on.
that was... I did a Monet cake once. I truly did a Waterlilies cake. It's like I got to paint on it with frosting. This felt like it took forever, this layering in. And it's totally fine if you still have white canvas throughout here. We're going to layer a lot more colors on here, so...
I have a hole in my canvas.
Yeah, you do. Paul got to use the cut canvas that came in from the manufacturer. That's what we do.
We got several of them in this last
I'm
one.
washing my brush. I'm kind of pushing it side to side on the bottom of the cup to knock any excess paint pigment off. And I'm going to dry it real quick. If you're catching up, because this part did take a little while, so maybe you're still working on it, you can pause the video and
Oh, man.
get it back up and going when you're ready. But let me see here. We're going to make a dark teal.
My painting's going to have a little bit of hard cider on it.
Nice job, Paul.
Yeah. Well, the glasses look the same. I'm just going to have to put this up here.
I'll show you on the instructions what we're doing next. We're doing this. So we're going to go from this to this. And we're going to mix a deep dark teal. And we're going to add some white to half of it. So let's go ahead and do that. Take your biggest brush, which should be clean. And just pull these two together. It's more blue than green. More blue than yellow. You'll know right away. You just it ends up making a nice deep dark teal.
I think one of the things that's interesting about teaching these not in person like this is we really have to encourage people to trust their eyes.
Yeah.
You know, look and see what you've got.
And know that it doesn't have to be exactly what we have.
Right. If the color
Especially if you're using your own paint.
Yeah. If the color looks too green or looks too blue, add a little more yellow.
Yeah.
If it looks too yellow. But I would always say anytime we're starting with a green color, go heavy on the yellow to start.
Okay, this one we went heavy on the blue.
Okay.
So we're going to add white to about half of this. You want to lighten it up nice and pretty here. Kind of makes almost a color like our Bahama blue. I almost added too much white.
How dare you?
I'll just pull some of the other blue in you. If you ended up with me like what I did and added too much white and it felt too light, just pull some more blue and yellow into it.
I haven't even started yet. Nobody cares.
I said half of it, but I've definitely gone crazy here. We can make more. It's okay. But what I want to do is up in here.
Can I ask you a question real quick? So this area, like where you've painted, I'm going to reach in real quick with my handle. You've got a lot of these white areas showing. Is that okay?
Yeah, I talked about that a minute ago.
Okay.
Where were you?
I was too busy dunking my paintbrush in my...
So if you have a lot of paint on your brush, I don't like to go in with a really dark color with a lot of paint, so I'm going to scrape some of it off on my palette. I like to scrape it off on my palette just so I can reuse it, but if needed, you can scrape it off on your paper towel. Up in here, we're going to do some deep shading.
Do some what?
Deep shading here, and on this side too.
Oh, I see you're going for more of a teal than a green.
Yeah. I also talked about that a minute ago.
That's
okay.
why... Gotcha. I'm not paying any attention at all.
So down in here, especially these two lower corners, we're going to really add a lot of shading. And I'll show you on the original. You can see it there. Through here and here. And this is kind of cool. It's making a lot of noise. If you feel like it's maybe too dark in some areas and maybe you want to lighten it back up, you could dip your brush in white and literally just brush the white right on top of the wet paint. And then you end up with a not over mixed color. It's more like a partially mixed.
Hydrogenated soy oil? What? What's he even talking about? I swear I have not been drinking.
No, you have but just a few sips.
Yeah. I mean, not to the point where it'd be ridiculous. We don't ever do that on video. We might, though. I don't know. It might be kind of fun once in a while. This video is not made for children. You will see people consuming mass quantities of alcohol and painting.
Oh. That's our next challenge.
With our left hands and upside down.
Actually, one of the instructors who used to work for us had this great technique. Whenever she was having students paint something that was a something, like say a fox, she would make them turn their canvas upside down, and she'd teach it upside down because...
Who did that?
Nicole.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because she felt like it took the stress off.
Yeah, I think a lot of times that... I agree with that. Like, taking the idea of what we're painting out of the equation helps.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to... I think I'll take a couple spots and lighten them just a little. So what this is, what we're putting on here is shadows under the lily pads, and it also can represent deep spots in the water. I feel like the paint is drying super fast tonight. Maybe it's just because the weather's been so dry.
Could be. Maybe it's because you're breathing heavy on it.
That could be. Okay. All right. I'm just lightening a few patches just for my own personal taste. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. But what I do want to do next is I want to bring in a little more bluish teal. So if you have a lot of paint on your brush, you can wash your brush. But if you don't, just go dip it in your dark teal, which I need to mix a little bit more of because I used too much of it. This is maybe a little on the blue side, but that's fine. And this is what we're going to spread around here in this darkest area at the bottom.
Really? I trust you.
Don't put too much though, because we paint our base of our lily pads in this color. So we don't want it to completely cover everything. So we need some of that to show.
When I was out and about driving today, speaking of the ice storm, the town I was driving through, town known as Lake Oswego, if you know, are local, a lot of the signal lights were out, and it's right by I-5, so it's a busy area I was in. And it was amazing to me how many people don't realize you're supposed to treat a situation where signal lights are off as a stop sign. And just we're going, like one lady came off the freeway off-ramp, like there was no signal light at all, just a free-for-all. And it was like, whoa.
Are you using our YouTube video to vent?
I am. Just talking about the snow. So you guys, if your signal lights are ever out, it's like a stop sign.
So this part maybe looks a little crazy right now, but trust me, Monet's did too. The paintings come together piece by piece, and they definitely go through ugly phases. Like Paul compares it to growing out a bad haircut.
Or being in junior high school.
Yeah, or being in junior high school. There's just the awkward phase, and that's where we're at right now. And this is the part on stage in the studio where we really have to talk the students off a cliff. Don't worry. And it's like they'll ignore the fact that mine looks exactly the same as in the same awkward phase. But it's just trusting the process. We'll get there, promise. So it should be darker down in here and gradually a little bit lighter up in here, which is why I was adding a bit more white up in there. And in fact, I could even add a little more just for fun.
You know, a lot of Monet's paintings of water lilies were actually of the sky, but the reflection of the sky in the water.
Wow, that's cool. He was a genius.
If you go back and look at most of his paintings, they did not actually have the sky.
What am I doing? I have white down here. I was just trying to wrap the paint over a little more.
Oh, I kind of painted a horizon on accident.
That's okay. If you did what Paul did and painted a horizon, let's show yours. This is super common because we naturally want to do that. So he has a real straight line across here. It's totally fine.
Well, I wasn't too concerned about it, but
I knew you weren't.
I did it on purpose to help with the teaching process.
Okay, that's it, yeah. Washing the brush now. Clean it off really good. We want to get all of that green off there. So I literally, I kind of muscle these big brushes around. They can take the abuse. So you don't want to poke it straight up and down. That'll fray out your bristles. So what I'm doing in the water cup is I'm going like this. And you can really push down pretty hard and get a lot of that paint pigment off. And your brush will be fine. The littler brushes have a harder time with that. So gotta be careful with your little brushes. So we are going to make a light butter yellow with white
Butter.
and yellow. We're gonna mix equal parts white and yellow. Your palette may look like mine. A little crazy. I might have to give myself some fresh white in a little bit. So yeah, about equal parts white to yellow. If you like it more pale, go for it. If you like it more bright yellow, that's fine too. And I can tell already I didn't make quite enough. You don't need a ton of paint, but you don't want to run out after the first brush stroke, which is kind of where I was at. So yeah, here's the color. Nice, pale, a couple shades lighter than that one. And I'm going to bring this in from up here, same way we did the water, the pink in the water.
Oh, wow, we got another color going.
Yep. And let it sort of commingle with these other colors. Let's bring it all the way to the edges. We're going to add a little more pink up in here too, so if you don't get every little spot of canvas covered, that's totally fine. I'll probably even add a little bit of lavender, just a little on the edges. And already ran out of paint. What is happening tonight? I feel like the paint is like possessed. It's drying so fast. Or my canvas is really thirsty.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm bringing a little of this yellow down in here too. Just little bits of it. We don't want to completely take over the pink, but we do want to bring some of that in
Be careful
there.
when you do that though. Like do that after you've kind of got the top part done.
Yeah, after you get the top part done.
Because you might accidentally grab some of that blue and I guess it doesn't really matter, does it?
Not too much. Let's have a look at the original. I add more pink and peach into the water, so I did start with a lot of yellow in the water like this one has right now, and then just gradually added other colors. Like I said, there's a lot of layering going on with this particular painting. Crunch. Gotta get rid of that paper there.
Yeah, what's up with
I
that?
don't know.
Who put that paper there? It was
All
it was
right.
Harriet.
I'll blame you.
Inside
Okay.
joke that nobody will ever hear the story for.
I know.
but-
I don't know why you tell inside jokes on here. I'm always like, what?
Because it adds intrigue.
Okay, let's wash our brush. Intriguing, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm very curious to see how you deal with this painting. How you deal with it. Because Monet is kind of your jam.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say.
Well, it's your style. You
it's
like
closer to my style.
If you have some purple lavender left, we're going to use a little bit of this. If you don't have any left, just mix white, a little tiny bit of ruby, little tiny bit of sapphire. So you get a light lavender, and adjust as needed. We don't need much. Mine is mostly dry because everything in here is drying fast.
It really is.
And I'm just going to bring this in on the side. So think of this as like clouds. Clouds coming in from the side. I didn't intend for this to be a horizon here, but I think when I finished the painting, I thought, you know, it kind of looks like it could go either way. So we're going to bring that in both sides, whatever you got left on your brush. If needed, mix a drop of water with it. That'll make your paint go a little further. I do that all the time.
Can I make a comment about your horizon comment?
Yeah.
I think the fact that you've got the willow boughs that...
Wouldn't make sense, or...
Well, no. The fact that they hang down in front, it takes away the horizon vibe. So whether it feels like a horizon now or not, doesn't really matter. It's going to change.
It's not a horizon.
It's not the horizon.
So it's sort of mimicking this down here, but up here. Reflecting each other. And now you'll be able to see what lavender and yellow do. It's not pretty at all. It makes a color that one of my artists called bile.
Really?
Marissa called it bile.
Wow, Marissa needs to go see a doctor. If her bile is that color, she's got an issue. Sorry, Marissa, if you're watching that.
So, yeah, it's not the prettiest color, but it does work nicely for what we need it here in this painting. We have another painting that uses this color, and it works great in that too. But what I want to have us do next, just finish that up, and we're going to start layering some more pink through here, because I've still got some white canvas left, and the painting has definitely turned more yellow, and I want to get some more pink back in there. So let's see, brush-wise, I think I might have switched to my medium brush here. No. Wait, yes. Oh, large or medium brush. I like to use the large brush, especially since my paint is drying fast. You know, I'm going to grab a little more white. Luckily, our white didn't freeze. I'm worried about it a little bit.
It didn't actually leave the studio, so...
But it was cold in here.
Oh, that's true.
So we are going to make cotton candy pink.
It wasn't
just
that
red
cold,
and white. Though. No, we keep it at like 62 when we're not here. I think the landlord told us to do that.
They did.
I'm like, you want to pay our bills? No, they're super nice. I love our landlord so much.
We have a really old building. It's over 100 years old. So.
Oh yeah, we came into melting ice dripping through the ceiling. That was.
Well, no, come on now. That's a bit extreme.
It was true. It was dripping. I had to put a bucket underneath it.
There's a leak that's getting re-roofed this summer.
Yep. Okay, so let's add some more pink back in here. Either this brush or your next size down. And this is the one that I called Cotton Candy Pink.
Cotton Candy.
Let's get the water first. Alright, leave some yellow, so don't make sure you're not covering everything, but I'm focusing on primarily the areas that are still white. You can overlap some of your teal just a bit if needed, if you felt like maybe that needs to be softened up here or there. The nice thing about this color, if you have the wet yellow on here, it makes a really nice peach color when they're together, as we know from the first color we made. Now this is where you determine if you want more of a pink-based painting or if you want to keep it more on the yellow side or even the lavender side.
Oh,
anything goes.
Sorry.
And I brought some down in here too. All the way to the bottom, because I kind of had this little split going where there's lily pads over here and lily pads over here, and then there's this little gap down in here. Now Monet's brush strokes were really, I don't know what the right word would be for
choppy and vague.
Choppy and vague, yeah. So think choppy and vague here.
But also decisive.
Choppy, vague, and decisive.
Well, what I mean by decisive, he just put it on there and just leave it.
Yeah, don't overwork it.
And that's probably the number one in having taught a few different Monet type paintings and Impressionism is people, their instinct is to brush and smooth everything out.
Yeah, we want to do that. So I'm going over some of the edge of this teal, kind of extending the pink into it just a bit, just to soften the edge, especially in these areas where I've got some white canvas showing through. The grocery person just texted to have a great night, I feel like I have to respond. I'm not that jerk. So excuse me for a moment while I respond to the grocery person and say thank you. I'll get us going on the next step. Let's get some more cotton candy pink. You can mix some more if needed. You can make it a tiny bit lighter if you want. But I want to get some of that up in the sky. Just kind of intermingle it with your lavender bile up here. You can extend it in areas in the sky, or not the sky. I'm calling it the sky just because I talked about it that way earlier, but it's not really the sky. This is the lightest part of the water. You can extend some of that pink.
This is a good color, like if you feel like you got that lavender in too heavy in any place, you can kind of put some of this pink over it and
Yeah.
get things going.
There. Got my thank you sent out. My
No.
mama taught me manners.
Now leave our driveway. Be thankful that I shoveled it for you. I didn't think Hayden was going to make it down the driveway today.
Oh no.
Vans and ice are not a good combination.
Yeah, we have a really steep driveway. All the neighborhood kids come up with their sleds and use our driveway.
Yeah, I was like, hey, wait a minute, now I can't
But
get
it's
down.
really short. It's not like a long, steep driveway, so it's like, yay, you get like a 1 second ride with your sled.
Well, but I think the kids who use it are the ones who are kind of stay-at-home kids.
Yeah, definitely. They
didn't-
don't.
I used to take those kids sledding sometimes, and not those particular kids, but their older siblings. And
Did you? That was nice.
yeah, I remember I would do that when our kids were going. Now our kids are like, nope, I just want
No
the
wonder they
fire.
were always ringing the doorbell.
Excuse me, Mr. Paul. Can you fix my bicycle for me?
Yeah, we got that. Fix the bicycle, borrow a ladder because locked the front door and can't get in, have to crawl through a window.
I was the neighborhood dad, really.
You really were.
Now they're all grown up, and I shake my fist at them while they let their car idle for too long.
They're really loud car idle in their driveway for 20 minutes.
Your car does not need to warm up for 20 minutes, darn it. I taught you better than that.
Okay.
People are like, what are these
Cleaning
people
the
rambling
brush.
on about?
This is looking
This is
very
us.
Monet-like. And now we are going to paint the actual lily pad blobs. I call them blobs because that is what they are. I don't want you to paint perfect little ovals at all. What these are that we're doing next are actually the shadows of the lily pads. Oh, they're just kind of the base. So here's what it looks like right there. Look at, there's no perfect ovals there. It's blobs.
You guys want to blow your mind. There's a very similar water lily painting by Monet. It's one of the ones that comes up really often if you Google search it. If you look at his lily pads, they're literally just, they're not even a blob.
What are they?
They're like a little upside down Nike swoosh. I'll pull it up for you.
Okay. Okay.
And maybe I'll trust my friends not to send bad messages while I'm well, and then we'll show it people.
So let's get going with some dark teal again. We want it to be darker than this, so if you need to add more blue to it, definitely do that. The ones on the are very original. Let me show you. You can see them peeking through here. Those were definitely a heavier blue. So we're going to make a heavy blue teal. And we want to use our medium brush. So you might have this one or you might have that round white one. When I created this painting, I used the round white one. So either one of these is going to work. A lot of you guys have this flat number 8. And let's go ahead and
There you go, look.
make our color. Oh, okay. Yeah, show them on the camera. No, you need to move it. There we go. So see, they're not ovals at all. And they're
just
really
smudges.
messy.
Yeah.
Messy smudges.
Don't question him. He's been dead for a long time and he was really good at what he did.
Yeah, he was. Okay, so this, just test it and make sure it's darker. Mine is definitely darker. That's what I want. So these blobby shapes, let me show you this again. We're gonna put smaller ones up here because they're further away. And then they go here and they go here and they're just in a random pattern. Make sure they overlap. I don't really know what I could compare this to, but I'm just, like Paul said, undetermined. What did we talk about with his brush strokes? Well, I can't remember the term you used.
Now I forgot too.
Rewind. do get some out in here too.
Oh, I said vague
Yeah.
was one of the words.
Vague and something. We have a lot to think about.
I don't know.
So my shapes, some are more rounded, but I'm, for the most part, keeping them kind of on the flatter side like this. Flatter on the top. Because of the way our view is coming in here, we're kind of just skimming.
Let me give you a piece of advice on that.
We're not straight on. It's not like we have a camera on top like we have right now. It's more like we're kind of... Okay, go ahead.
The closer to the bottom of the canvas, the rounder you can be.
Okay.
And as you move away...
So down here we can be a little rounder.
Yeah, and as you move away, you want to kind of get flatter.
Okay.
Just because that encourages the idea that you're looking across the surface.
Yeah, so your lily pad blobs that you're putting on right now can be larger down in here. And they really do grow in massively big clusters where they're all overlapping each other. I don't know what's going on. I think I got into the white a little bit here. They're overlapping each other, fighting for the sunlight. Got a little yellow in there, so you can ignore that. Your parents have a gigantic stand of these in their pond that they're always having to cut back.
Well, they put it in... my parents have about a 1/4 acre natural protected wetland in their backyard.
Lucky.
Well, they are moving, though. So
They are moving.
First, they're moving after 50 years? 49 years. But they put in just a little lily pad that they bought from the home improvement store like about maybe 30 years ago. And it's probably, the plant itself is now probably, what do you think, about 25 feet by 15 feet?
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe bigger.
Dry paint there. It's kind of cool that the person buying your parents' house is an artist. So, like, your mom's an artist, your dad's an artist, but your mom practiced a lot more than your dad. Your sister was an artist.
Yeah.
So it's like that house is just determined to be for artists.
Yep. Apparently they pull down on the little road on the other side of the pond almost every day just to...
Oh, are they here now? They live here now?
They're living in a hotel right now,
Oh,
waiting for my parents to move out.
they're stalking. Just like your parents are stalking their house being built.
Yeah.
Today they drove over. In fact, we get the pictures on Facebook Messenger. It's kind of exciting for them after all these years because they've never really lived in a neighborhood. I mean, 3/4 acre pond, that kind of tells you.
Acre. 3/4 acre property.
Oh, yeah, okay.
A third of that is the pond.
Yeah. So they've never gotten trick-or-treaters ever, not even once, except for the grandchildren. So it's exciting for them to be going into a neighborhood and feeling a little more secure as they're aging.
Being able to go for a walk.
Yeah. So should be looking something like this. A lot of different little blobs going. I do see that I have definitely clustered in here pretty tight. So what I'll do sometimes with that is just do a random breakaway.
They do grow in clusters.
And now let's get some up in here. Now these are going to be a little smaller. We have a stand here and a stand here. This area is pretty dark. You could bring a few in there if you want. These could even be a little bit lighter in color if you want, although I didn't do that on the original. They're just smaller. It's probably kind of hard to do this because you know we're sort of painting lily pads and you really want to paint shapes.
Yeah, we're not painting Frogger right now, though.
Because I struggle with that a lot. In fact, the flower painting that I did that's coming up, the hydrangeas, I had to keep reminding myself to be really loose with the process. It's one of the things that I tend to overdevelop things. You guys can see my owls that I paint. And sometimes it works. But sometimes a painting needs to have that underdeveloped quality
Looseness.
to it. Looseness. That's what it is. Looseness.
I consider that to be kind of like organic.
Yeah. Organic.
I mean, again, if you look at Monet's paintings, so many of them were painted after he had severe arthritis, and he just had a paintbrush basically lashed to his hand.
Yeah, they'd like tie his paintbrush to his hand, the people who would help him. So one of the cool things about Monet, that anytime I taught we taught water lilies in the studio, and anytime I taught anytime I taught a painting or our version of a painting by a famous artist, I'll always try to look up facts on that artist that I can generically spew out during teaching. And one of the cool things I learned about Monet during his water lily paintings, so he did them on this one river in France called, I don't even know if I'm going to pronounce it right, it's like Giverny. And let's wash this brush. He had a special boat made, this flat bottom boat, and he had slots cut into the sides, or built into the sides of the boat, inside the boat, so that as he worked, he could put his paintings there, because he would paint the light as it changed. He'd start a new canvas for different lighting.
So at any given time, yeah, he'd have like 8 or 9 different paintings, because he'd only work on them for an hour at a time because the lighting would shift. And that's part of the reason why he's got so many different paintings of water lilies. I mean, you think about it, if you're working at 8 or 9 of them at a time, yeah, it doesn't take very long, and you've got a lot of paintings.
Yeah. So these are going to lighten up a bit, because a little bit later on we're going to add some avocado green highlights to them, which kind of help form the actual lily pads. This is the time we want to look at this and determine if we want to add any additional color through here. I do have a lot of white canvas poking through. I feel like the tooth on this canvas is really intense.
It feels really aggressive.
Yeah. And so I'm going to mix up, remember we started with that peach color, and it's kind of gotten wasted away. It's gone. Gosh, I cannot get the blue out of this brush. And I'm going to add a little bit more back. So this is going to buy us a bit of drying time, and also add something else to this. This is optional. You don't have to do this. So I'm going to mix white, ruby, make a pale, pale pink. Leave some of your white. You'll need it for a couple things we do. And then grab a little daffodil. This brush is like a trick brush. Stuff, blue keeps coming out of it. Where did it hide? So there's my color, kind of peachy. When you paint it with the pink, you should be able to tell right away. Okay, I need to add more. Yellow. Maybe a touch more white.
You know, I feel like that's something, one of the things that we need to have on our bucket list of life is to go visit the Monet Museum and see his gardens that are still there, that, you know, the old famous bridge is still there.
Yeah,
and
that would be cool. One day. Patreon people.
Help us out.
Okay, so I'm focusing this peachy color primarily on the areas that still have a little white canvas. We still add white through here like a shimmer, so we've got time to, we have opportunities to add more paint. But I'll go over some of the pink so that I'm not just having all pink. That way I've got some peach.
So just to clarify, since I was kind of
here.
working on other stuff, we're just basically making sure that we don't have any tooth of canvas showing at this point, right?
Yeah, the tooth of the canvas is the texture. And sometimes, even though the canvas is made by the same manufacturer, sometimes the tooth is a little more aggressive.
I think sometimes the technique we use
adds to
that too.
It could be too. I'll get some up in this area too.
But not up in here.
I feel like this could be broken up maybe a little. I feel like I need the bigger brush. I'm going to switch to my biggest brush. That medium-sized brush is just running out a bit too fast for my liking.
I think that this a painting like this it's a delicate balance of letting the colors interact
Without covering.
And not over blending.
Okay, I think that has gotten to where I'm okay with it here. And this is the cool thing. You figure out what color you need to add back in. Like, oh man, I eliminated all my yellow. Well, you can add more yellow back in. Same sort of brush strokes that we're doing here. Just using that thin edge of the brush. Okay, moving on. We're gonna make avocado green, and we are going to.
Thanks. Now I want guacamole.
Right? I know we didn't eat dinner. So this color here, I guess it's maybe a touch darker than avocado. Probably dried a tiny bit darker, but yeah, it's more yellow to blue. So sapphire and daffodil, but much more daffodil. And let's use our medium-sized brush. So for me, that's number 8 flat, which is my water. I'll get this.
I've actually been
in the water.
Using my medium-sized brush the whole time for the most part.
You have a nice round brush. Paul's using the deluxe brush set. It's $2 more than the normal brush set.
But you get 2 more brushes.
It's a 6 brush set. Let's show this brush you're using.
Okay.
So our 6 brush set has this awesome round brush. I love this brush so much. I've been doing a lot of flower paintings, and it works perfect for flower petals. All right, so that being said, let's pull some yellow, daffodil yellow over here, and then just maybe less than half that amount of the sapphire. So it's going to change, the sapphire will change it right away. So this right here, I would consider avocado green, and my green is just a touch bluer than that. I don't know that it matters so much. So, guacamole on your palette, and this is where we're gonna sort of develop these a little bit, but I don't want you to overdevelop them because we definitely want that sort of messiness going on. And we're gonna loosely paint this color over the dark teal lily pad shapes. I focus a lot on the top edge because I like having that strip of dark underneath as a shadow. And we think of our light sources up here, obviously. So if you leave, just focus on the top strip of these blobs, you end up with that awesome little shadow underneath. And these brush strokes I'm doing are pretty close to the same as what we did with these originally. They're just a little bit smaller because we're leaving part of the bottom edge showing. Make sure that you overlap some. Sometimes I have a tendency to just place things and be like, you have your space here and you have your space here and you shall not touch. So I try to make sure that I'm making them intermingle. It's like getting your children to get along. You are going to be here holding hands.
Remember when people used to do that, like make their kids who are fighting wear the same, like a giant t-shirt together?
Yeah, there was an internet meme that went around. Somebody did that. It was pretty funny. So let this mix. I have some of my teal down here is still wet. Just let it mix together. That's a beautiful thing. And then this is what we later on we put the metallic gold as an additional highlight here, and it just looks so pretty. Sometimes we have a hard time deciding what bonus color we want to send.
I think we're going to start doing a bonus color every single month too, right?
Yeah, we talked about that. Because it is kind of fun to always get an extra paint color. And the bottles that we give you, they're quite a bit more paint than you probably need. So you can have extra and play around with it and do something different. The other thing you guys can do, I do this all the time. I don't love every single painting I do.
What?
And yeah, in fact, there's a lot of there's a lot of me not liking what I do. So I will take, like, let's say I finish this painting and I don't want it anymore someday or right away. And I'll just paint black over the whole entire thing. And then you have this cool tinted canvas to start with. And you can do so many things with the black canvas.
I've seen people, we've had people do that in the studio, and that's always awkward. As a
It is awkward.
Like, you hated your painting so much, you just painted it black right in front of me.
Right in front of me, the teacher, and everybody else.
Thanks.
I feel bad when they do that. But it happens. So let's get these up here. Now, one thing I did up here, I like the look of it. I added a few more out here that were just the avocado green, so no shadow under them. And I kind of liked how it just sort of goes from dark to having some light ones there.
I love this painting.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome, Claude.
I wonder what those artists would think if they knew that, like, Sip and Paint Studios
Oh my gosh, they'd probably be rolling over in their graves.
and other places are just, like, teaching their paintings.
I don't know, because you got to think about it like in the context of at some point in time, as a artist, it's kind of your responsibility to pass on your knowledge.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't know them personally, but I think it would be flattering to know that, like, people loved your painting so much they want to recreate it. When I was younger, I used to I'd get really upset when my sister would copy what I was drawing. I remember complaining to my mom, she's copying everything I do. And my mom would say, it's the highest form of flattery. And it took a while till, I was obviously older when I realized, oh, you were an idiot. Yes, she was totally copying you because she liked what you were doing. But as kids, it's funny how you think that. She's copying me.
I always like that. We're not huge Doctor Who fans, but we watched that one episode with
Van Gogh.
With Van Gogh,
I love that episode. I always cry.
They bring him into the future and show him the Van Gogh
Museum in Amsterdam.
Yeah, and because Van Gogh never got to realize any success at all.
No, he sold like one painting in his life.
Most of them he traded for food.
Mm-hmm. Or room and board.
Yeah. And was kind of considered kind of a nut job.
Oh, yeah. That was all the absinthe.
By his peers. But I always feel like, I don't know. I always think about it, I think about it a lot because I think about, like, a lot of the modern paintings and stuff like that. And I think, do you think that when Monet would have a gallery showing, did he have to stand there and explain what emotion he was trying to capture in his painting? No. It was just, it spoke for itself. Now, if you're, like, into modern art and abstract art and you're expressing mode, that's fine. It's just, it's a different thing.
So, yes, I love the way this looks right now, although I wouldn't call that a finished painting ever, unless I was going for something really abstract. But I love the way it looks like the light source is just hitting the top edge of these. And what I want to do now is we're going to add some of these...
I swear I'm going to catch up.
Grasses and stems. So some of these I considered grasses, and it was just adding some interesting elements to what's going on down in here. And then a few of them are actually the lilies themselves that grow tall. I guess some of them must grow tall, and some...
Well, there's lotus flowers tend to grow above the water, whereas lilies tend to float on the water. Okay. And it's not unusual to have them both in the same pond.
Yeah, I was reading the difference between lotus and water lilies, and one of them has like sharper pointed petals. I can't remember which one.
Lotus does.
Okay. Well, you're just a wealth of knowledge.
Well, this is kind of in my wheelhouse.
It is true. All right, so I'm going to use my medium brush to mix the color, but I'm going to use my smallest brush to paint it on. So we want blue with a little bit of yellow, so it's definitely that dark teal that we did earlier, only a little more blue, just so it's nice and dark. Like looking at my original there, I can tell it's mostly blue. That's a nice color. I actually really like that color a lot. I might paint my walls in the studio that color. Oh,
which color?
We already did.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we?
Okay, so washing that medium brush, And take your small brush, whichever one you've got, and dip it in water. Anytime I use this little brush, I stir that drop of water into my paint. And see how I kind of hold my brush to the side when I'm doing that rather than straight up and down, because that'll help keep your bristles from dying on you and fraying. Now this that we're going to do here, we want to use whisper light pressure. So it's like you're barely touching the canvas and you just do a quick flick of the brush. And I pick little areas to do that. So I like odd numbers, so I'll do like 3. But I don't want to do 3 every single time. That would feel too patterny. And some, some could be leaning a bit. And it's okay if your lily pad green is still wet and it kind of drags the color through. I run into that and it doesn't cause any major issue. And maybe you can fit a couple up here. Make these ones a little shorter because they're further away. So a lot of people get lotus tattoos, which I think the representation there is pretty cool. And I think it's the same with water lilies. Water lilies and lotus grow from rhizomes in the mud. And so, in fact, I've had cousins who are like, "What kind of can you design a tattoo? What kind of tattoo should I get?" And I always explain to them, if you do a lily or a lotus, they represent just kind of coming from the muck and growing into something beautiful. So I love that representation there. Maybe one day I'll get a lily tattoo. Okay, that aside, some of these I'll do this sort of V shape at the top. Now what this is just like a rose petal, has the little green leaves that sort of frame it in and hold it together. This will allow us to paint our lily bud in there. Maybe I'll add one right here. And you could add one back here if you want. You don't even really have to put them back here because they're so small. We'll just put the little lily bud there. But I'm going to wash the brush. And it's time to add our white shimmer through the middle. So that's going to allow this stuff to dry. We're doing good time-wise. What time is it? I feel like it hasn't been super long. 7:30, so yeah. We'll probably finish in a half hour.
Right.
Perhaps. Okay. Let's go ahead and grab either your middle brush or your largest brush, whichever one feels right to you for what we're going to do. You'll kind of realize right away which one feels good and which one doesn't. I'll start with my middle brush and see how it goes. I'm going to use the skinny edge if you're using this flat brush. If you're using the round, just use the tip of the bristles. And just white paint. And I'm literally going to just back and forth, and I can tell already I'm going to like this brush better. It holds more paint. Again, skinny edge. Now you can kind of make little wiggly brush strokes here, like there's ripples in the water. Try not to overlap any of your things you just painted because we don't want some mirrored teal in there. So this is the sunlight hitting the water, creating this really pretty shimmer through the middle here. We do want to bring some up in here too, because this is our major light source. This is where the sun is glaring off the water and you need sunglasses. Now you don't have to use a ton of white here if you really are enjoying the pink and you don't want to cover too much of it and the peach and all that, then go easy on it. Now small areas, I'll switch to my medium-sized brush. So I've got a couple small areas like right between here and I need to get a little shimmer in. And down in here would probably be good. Not so much down in here because our light source, major light source is here, and this is going to be more in the dark with a few smaller ripples grabbing some light. Okay. Okay, let's see. I can't remember if we do gold next or... I guess it doesn't matter. I'm such an instruction follower. I have to follow my own instructions. It's silly. We do lilies next. And I'm going to show you on paper how we paint those. Keep them loose. We want them to be not perfect at all. But they should resemble. Like someone should look at your painting and know that those are flowers of some kind. And color-wise, there are so many options you can do. I kept mine mainly to 2 different shades of pink. You could even do 3 different shades of pink. So I made like a raspberry color, which was more red to white, and then I made a paler pink that's more like the cotton candy color we used in there. We are going to use probably our smallest brush for the most part to do those. I did a couple yellow, but I wasn't loving the yellow, and so I didn't do too many, like maybe 3. So here's my paper. I'm going to use a bigger brush to mix the color. I've already got a little pink going on here, so I can just add some more red to that. So when I say raspberry pink, I think of it like a raspberry smoothie. Like you've got vanilla yogurt or plain yogurt and raspberries. They always make that color. Or Barbie box pink. That's a good one. And then I want to make a lighter pink. So I just use what's left on my brush and stir a lot more white into it. And the 2 colors should be definitely different from each other. So you should look at them and know, oh yeah, that's a deep pink, that's a light pink. And I paint them with the smallest brush. I'll start with this deep pink. I literally am just going to do this. And they float. They actually grow, don't they grow in between the lily pads, not on top? Like we always want to paint them and draw them on top.
Nope.
The lily pads, like for tattoos, it looks really good to do that.
But grow in between because they come up on their own separate stem.
Yeah, like these tall ones. And so yeah, you can do these 3, 4, 5 of those. And on some of them, you could even do some that go to the side. Like when I used to do henna, and when I would draw a water lily, I would do this kind of thing. Boop, boop. So I'd always do these like mustache thing on the side. So we're doing a little easy version of that. So take your littlest brush, start with whatever color you want to do, and then just plop them down wherever you like. Some of them do end up looking like they're sitting on a lily pad here and there, and it's just because I scattered them through there, and we don't really have any definite water lily. We don't really have any definite lily pads here, so
time to take my glasses off.
You're good. You can put them wherever. And one thing I try to, it's hard, I try to remember to make some of them different size. Like maybe these down here are a little bigger. I kind of have this thing in my head where I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll get some of the raspberry color ones over here.
I just feel like I'm starting out with the Wu-Tang Clan logo.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Got a little bit more white in yours than I've got in mine. But that's okay.
Sorry, the grocery shopper. She forgot something in her car. She forgot the iced tea in her car. And so she's bringing it back, and she needed her address.
Wow, she didn't have it in her GPS already?
No. She said the app doesn't let him bring it back up again.
Huh. Okay.
So I'm going to use some light pink now. We get to go through the drama of grocery delivery. I actually really like doing grocery delivery here and there. Just
Here and there, that's all you've been doing.
That's true. I'm so busy working on things for the studio, shipping orders, developing new paintings, cleaning the studio. That's a lot of it. And a lot of times like meal planning and then doing all the shopping, parking, all that. It takes so much time that I'm just like, I'm just going to bite the bullet and pay the little bit extra that it is. And some places are a lot extra. So I try to avoid the ones that are hugely crazy overpriced with the Instacart.
So remember Patreon to help us out with our grocery shopping.
Yes, that's right. So I'll occasionally add a little streak of the lighter pink into some of these darker pink ones. Because it just adds some nice depth and shimmer, and it looks really good. Like you can see the difference between these over here and these that don't have it. It's nice. I like the change there. And for these lighter pink ones, if you want that same effect, you could use white. And keep working on your lilies. If you are ending up where they're all like equally half an inch apart, like mine, make sure you go in and just add some uncomfortable ones in there. The ones that feel like, I don't like how close that one is to the other one, but we need that. Let's show the original here. We'll get these buds on here in a minute, but go ahead and add a few small ones up in here. They're quite a bit smaller than these, since they are further away. Some of them you could even do just like a little candle light shape, like a kind of this shape, even coming right out between the lily pads, because they're budding out, but they're not fully grown in yet and bloomed out. Painting these always reminds me of like Hughes Water Gardens. Which if you guys are in Oregon, Wilsonville, there's a place called Hughes Water Gardens. It's fun to go to even if you're not like a pond person. Like they sell pond supplies and plants and stuff. Koi, that kind of thing. It's super fun to go to. I used to take the kids there when they were really young because there's like a bamboo garden you can walk through. There's huge koi. They're so big, like the ones at the Japanese garden. So, and then they've got all kinds of sculptures and water fountains that I highly recommend it.
Really cool greenhouses with the water lilies and lotuses that are tropical ones.
Is it like Stafford Road? Is that what that is right there?
Yeah, it's on Stafford Road. But a lot of the tropical ones are not really for sale unless you've got a greenhouse where you've got your pond built.
Okay, I'm going to paint the little teardrop shaped buds in the holders that I painted. And oh, that's a little too close to the background color, so I'll make it a little more red. A little tiny one back here. I guess that's all. Put one right here, I guess. So far, so good. I'm just thinking here. I see like kind of a lot of side view going on. These ones down here, you could even make a flower petal that kind of points straight down.
The other thing you can do is if you've got water below, you can reflect.
Oh, yeah.
I've done that on some of mine.
Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me find one on mine that I could do that way. There really aren't any. Maybe this one. Get a little water reflection going Just jiggle your little brush back and forth underneath the flower. Make sure it's the same color. And now we're going to wash the brush. Now we're going to go for the metallic gold. Yay!
Already?
This is the coolest color. I love it because in the right light, look at that. You can see it shimmer. So, oh, look at that. Look how bright that turns when I pivot it towards the light. So some lights, in some lighting it doesn't, it's very subtle, but if you get the right lighting, it's like boom, shakalaka. So I do just a little tiny bit with the smallest brush on the front edge of some of these lily pads. It doesn't have to be on every single one. So yeah, smallest brush. Where's my gold here? The untouched color. You don't need much on your palette unless you really want to go crazy with the gold. And when you paint it on, it feels kind of see-through. Like it's not a super opaque color.
It's there though.
It's there, yeah. So as I'm painting it on, you probably can't really see it, but if I tilt, there it is.
I've seen so many times in the studio where people have over.
Are you sure there's gold?
No, where they, yeah, that too, but where they've just simply overused it because you can't see it.
Yeah. There it is. I'm trying to make it so you guys can see what I'm doing. Sort of.
One of these days we'll have to get that iridescent color.
Yeah.
And use it for like the shimmer in the background of a painting or something, you know, in the ocean.
I bought a bunch of metallic pigments that you can mix in with paint. And they're all shimmery. All different colors. There's like 60. I haven't done a lot with it yet. I've mixed it with watercolor paint, which is kind of fun. So there, got my gold on there. I kind of like how subtle it is because I feel like if it was always like this, it's a bit too attention grabbing.
Yeah.
But do get some up here.
Do not abuse it. Little bits. Okay, I'm actually not going to add a ton.
So if you do the thing where you paint one of your canvases black to start over, this metallic gold, once your black canvas is all completely dry, it looks so cool on the black. And like I have one canvas, one painting we did at the very beginning of our years at the studio, like nine and a half years ago, where I did this. I did like a henna lotus in gold and filled it in with little dots and all kinds of swirls and things, and that was really fun. It was kind of like a Zentangle style lotus. Okay, it is time to do the willow vines. I tried to keep these super duper loose and non-committal. I didn't want to paint like perfect little ramen noodles. I wanted it to look kind of shaggy and out of control because I looked at Monet's water lily painting and just really examined his brush strokes to try and mimic something like that. So we're going to mix a color.
Isn't it crazy? Like you look at it, you look at a real Monet and it's like,
I need a little more
it
wine.
Feels like it should be really easy to mimic.
But it's not. Your
But
brain
it's
brain
not.
comes in and goes, Okay. Let's see our colors. We are going to mix up the dark teal. If you have any left, you can use it. And so that was equal parts sapphire and daffodil. And I'll show you my technique on paper for how I did those. I'm going to set this aside because it's pretty. Some of those pink flowers are really wet. All right. If you have the red brush set, your little flat number 4 might be the one to use here. Either that or your little round brush. If you have the white set, you want to use your smallest brush, definitely.
Oh, there's this one too.
Oh yeah, and if you have the orange set.
Oh, you were talking about the white set.
Yeah, if you have this, so many brush sets. But people order whichever ones they want to order. And so I do like to do the paintings sometimes with different ones.
4 of the 6 brushes. I think, I don't know where
if you've got the orange set, you'll use your number 6 round or your number 1 round.
I would probably go with the 6,
Yeah,
personally.
a little bit bigger brush because we have a long distance to travel. And the littlest brushes will run out of paint really fast. So that's why I like to use a little bit bigger. So dark teal, equal parts sapphire and daffodil. You don't need a ton of paint here. I do like to add a drop of water to it. Make it a bit more fluid. Maybe 2 drops of water. A bit more fluid is good here. Now if you have a lot of blobbed on paint on your brush from mixing, make sure you clean that off before you start. So I'll just wipe it off on my towel here, make some cool art here. And then just dip the tip of the bristles into this mixture. And the technique I did was, so there's a couple things you can do. You can do this really loose. Hold your brush maybe farther back on the handle. This is more the kind of ramen noodly thing, but make them kind of shaggy, so branch off of them. But what I did on the original is I, really looking at Monet paintings, I sort of did this. And if it looks too patterny, when you paint your next one in, kind of overlap it. So I'm kind of doing this sort of thing. Might take some practice. Maybe grab a sheet of paper or something and try it out. But the bottom ends of them should be, like this is kind of bulky up through here. The bottom ends should be long and pointy. So I would, if I were you, would do what feels easiest to you after practicing a little bit. If it's easier to do these long tendrils and just kind of add more and more till it really looks pretty full, then do that. But if you like this sort of thing, you can try that. So let's, oh, grabbing the wrong one. Here's the original if you want to see it again. Very shaggy. We have 3 colors going on in there too. And those are the avocado green, the teal, and gold. So we're going to start with the teal. Drop of water. Scoot that over. Maybe start in a spot that's sort of off to the side that you can cover pretty easily. Who's texting you? Is it one of our children?
Yep.
Non-emergency?
I'm getting status updates on video game progress.
Oh boy, so glad it's not homework progress. Sarcasm. So the length of these, they are dipping down, touching some of these lily pads, and then some, particularly on these edges here, are going to be shorter. So in the class when I taught Monet Waterlilies, I told people it's kind of like a beaded curtain that's pulled to the side. So it gets shorter and then it gets longer. Keep it random. So the one thing about doing it this way, that if you tend to be a little more type A, OCD, whatever, trust me, I'm one of your people. I'm like that. You're kind of might hurt your brain thinking there's no stem for them to be attached to, but you don't need it. Not with this painting.
Please don't.
I don't know. Would you call me type A? I definitely
Yes.
OCD. Really?
Absolutely.
Darn. Sorry, Paul.
It's an unusual trait in an artist.
Great.
It's not a bad thing.
I think that, I don't know, I know some people who are OCD, and I don't know, I feel like I'm maybe a little more relaxed than that, but I guess you would know for sure. Maybe I'm just type A about the house cleaning.
So I'm not really going to comment while we're on live.
Good idea.
I'm just gonna kind of leave it where it's at.
All right, I'm gonna dig the truth out of you. The car on the way home.
You know the answer.
So when I finished this painting and brought it over to Paul and said, "What do you think?" He said, "What did you say?"
I don't remember.
It was something like you felt like it needed more contrast.
That's what I'm doing on mine.
Okay, so what are you doing different?
I just added a little bit of red to our mix.
Oh, so it's a bit darker.
So it's more of a purplish.
Okay. Rather than being a lot of the blue tones.
Yeah, because what it does is, to me, it helps pull it into the foreground.
Should we show yours?
Yeah, you can if you want to.
So Paul has, he'd made more of a purple tone, which is different than any other color that's on here. So that does create more contrast. These are nice.
Thank you.
Where was my brush? Here it is. Okay. And then I do add, I guess the ones over here, there's a lighter avocado green, but I think it wouldn't be wrong to add some teal ones in there too, if you want. Okay, so I'm going to now wash my brush.
I realize everything I've got is kind of pulling towards the middle.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to fix that a little bit.
How's that going with the rule of thirds thing?
I don't know.
So I'm making avocado green again. Add a little water to it. You might even have some left from earlier, but mine is all dry. I like adding this color in here because it kind of lightens up some of this. I'm going to paint some kind of in between, and some of them end up on top of these. And you can do some separate ones that are in between. Maybe do some that are just the long ramen-like tendrils. But I do want to do, in the ones that are closest to the sky, I like to do that lighter green because I think of it like the sun is hitting the edge of those, so they're just lighter in general. And they're shorter. Now these over here, I just did a little, maybe 1.5 inch area, and they're all done with this avocado green, and then I added some gold in later. You could, if you like the idea of having equal, that would be more traditional like Van Gogh's painting. He's got pretty well equal chunks of willow vines on either side. You can definitely do that. I really like your castle painting. I think that's going to be a fun one to do.
It's going to be definitely going to be a fun one.
So your paintings, like you always kind of deviate on the ones I teach a bit.
What do you mean?
You know, you kind of stylize
put my own spin on it? Yeah.
I like to try and do yours exactly as you teach them most of the time because I feel like I can learn from your loose style.
You know why I don't? Why I kind of deviate?
Because you're showing off.
No. I can't do it that way.
Oh, yeah, I remember the L. Okay.
That was me topping off my cup. It wasn't anything weird.
There. Now I'm going to get some metallic gold going, and then outside of the little white dots, if you choose to put them, the metallic gold would be your last step. Same brush, whichever one you decided is your brush for this. And I'll start over here, and I just did what I did with that avocado green, where some are on top, some are just their own little thing. I don't try to really carefully paint over the top of different vines. I'll just sometimes add like a dash here and then come down here, maybe add a little here. Again, the gold is like you can't see it until I turn that. There it is, hiding in there. And I put this with the avocado green too.
You didn't do any yellow water lilies.
No, the OCD took over. You know, on mine, and it's just personal preference, I didn't love the yellow for some reason.
Well, to be honest with you, they don't usually intermix like that. Because you have like, it'd be like saying you're going to get different color of roses on the same bush.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, you might, oh, sorry, there was my arm getting in the way. You might,
Maybe I'll do a lone gold one.
you might have some clumps that grow close together, but they really grow in a clump.
Ha! What did they say? About a half hour left, and here we are at 8 o'clock. Nice.
Nice.
After all these years of teaching, I've got it dialed in pretty good most of the time. Okay, so these little white dots, 100% optional. If you like it like that, and you don't want to do anything else with it, you can leave it. If you want to add the glitter, you can add the glitter. And that is done with the handle of your smallest brush, whichever one you have. So just like we've done stars in the past, dip the handle in the white paint. Make sure that you clean it off when you're done, because you'll end up with a dried glob there that will cause problems for your next painting. And I am just dotting these in.
I'm going to leave it out because I know what that is. It's cottonwood.
And you're going to sneeze. That's what it is, cottonwood.
And cottonwood really gets me.
So what I was thinking when I painted these on is I really like that look of when there's like when people blow like a wish flower, like a dandelion puff. And there's these white magical things floating through the air. And I love the look of lightning bugs, even though they really don't hang out around water, I don't think.
I don't know if they do or not.
I think they're more field.
No.
I think a customer told me that once. We did a painting with lightning bugs over the water. I remember this. And she was from like the Midwest, and she was like, oh, just so you know, they usually don't hang around water.
Well, we don't have lightning bugs in Oregon at all.
I wonder if they do in France on the Giverny.
Well, I guess they do now. As Bob Ross used to say, it's your world. Make it what you want.
That's right. I love that. And that is the truth. And that's something we have to remind ourselves when we are creating a painting. Unless you're doing something hyper-realistic or something someone has commissioned that they want it exactly this one certain way.
You know what?
They shouldn't want it that way. It should be the artist.
If you ever commission somebody to do artwork for you, commission them to do their art.
I think most people do.
Like, can you do this Monet painting for me? Come on, no.
But that's like with our kids' videos we do, that's why we do paintings with like unicorns and animals that are like a complete different color than would be found in nature, because it is encouraging creativity. And
yeah.
You need to have that. It's
absolutely
so important, because definitely in our world it's real easy to fall into being very rigid and questioning everything. That's, I think that's the worst, is questioning everything. Well, should I do this? Is this okay? Yes, you're the creator here. For this painting, you are God.
The only thing that's not okay in my book is not trying.
Yeah. And as we finish up here, the one thing I always want to push with people is the process of this will get so much better as you gain confidence.
Okay,
and the only way you gain confidence is by painting and painting and painting some more. And then eventually it's like you're not going to think about how do I hold the brush anymore? You're going to be just doing it, and it will feel right. So with that being said, I'm going to sign my painting now. Looks like I forgot on my original. That's very typical. Do you have any yellow? Oh yeah, you do. I'm going to borrow that. I usually will pick a color that's not really super prevalent. So I'm going to grab some yellow, initial it here. This little brush. Oh, that's a great signature.
Good job, Jenny.
What's happening down there?
2 glasses of wine.
No, I haven't. I don't feel anything. Okay, so let's look at Paul's.
I left off the little...
The Jenny touch. You left off the glitter. How dare you?
Yeah.
I like it. Yep, definitely your Monet style for sure. Reminds me a lot of your one that you designed for the studio. It was
That's also available through the Go Box.
Yeah, that's one of our videos.
Yep.
So there we go.
Yep.
And I think we can zoom out now and say goodbye.
Let's zoom out. Hold on, I took my glasses off, so if I'm squinting... Now let me put my glasses back on. Let me make this
You don't have to
dramatic.
see anything.
I do. I need to be able to see where we're looking. All right, ready? Here we come.
Okay.
We're back.
Thank you guys for joining us. Please like and subscribe. Click that bell for notifications every time we post a new video. Get your kids painting. We've got lots of kids videos. And all of that helps us. If you are feeling generous, our Patreon or the one-time donation thing with the coffee is most welcome. Definitely.
You know the other thing is what we've had a few people cancel their subscriptions of late, and that's going to happen. I get it. But the reason that's being given, I'm going to toss some people under the bus.
Okay.
You know who you are. Is you don't have time.
Yeah.
Make that time.
The projects are piling up.
This is so important to your stress level and everything, is to take this time for yourself.
An hour and a half.
You know, and even if you do half of it one week and come back and finish it the next week, come on. We're talking about an hour a week. That's all you need.
Yeah, do it. Take some time for yourself. It's important. Art is super therapeutic.
There's a reason why art therapy is literally a thing.
Yes.
So it's such a great stress relief.
And it's even better when you have some wine.
Well, unless or a cup of tea.
A cup of tea, good cup of coffee.
Good cup of chamomile in the evening with some honey is always good.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks guys. We enjoyed painting tonight. We'll see you again on Friday.
Come back for Rocky Cove. We'll see you Friday.
And if you were doing this any other time, if you're doing this a year from now, go to Rocky Cove and try it out too. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Search for it on our site.
So good night everybody. Peace out.
Thank you.